Thank you so much for coming out. It's great seeing all of you here. Just want to share a little bit about the program this evening. The beginning of it's just going to be a getting to know you stage for the most part. And the amazing thing about music is it's a carrier of information. So the best way that I can get to know all of you and for you to know me is not just talking about music, but really sharing it with you, because music carries my emotions, my intentions, whatever frequencies and harmonics that I'm using, that I've worked with over the last 30 years of doing this. And really just tapping into the group energy, because it's really never the same doing anything, in a place. It would be no fun if I just came in here and played the same thing. So it's all about tapping into what's going to be most beneficial for the group this evening. And it wasn't too long ago that I sat in an auditorium similar to this and got to experience a gentleman named Dr. Wayne Dyer. So anyone familiar with Wayne? Yeah, Wayne touched so many lives. And I remember I was at that stage in my career where I had produced a lot of people, but I still hadn't created my own album of songs. And I was kind of going there to get inspired and motivated. And I remember Wayne saying something, and it was like, everyone else had disappeared, and he was just talking to me. And he said, "Don't die with your music still in you." And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, like this has been a great career, but if I died in this moment, that there would still be a missing piece that I hadn't shared, in the world. And what was amazing was it really was not about music, is it? Because we all have a song and we all have music that we share in the world. It's not just music, it's our legacy, it's our mission, whatever it is that we're here to share. And in that moment, I remember making a promise to myself that I didn't care if one person was going to listen to the songs that I was going to create, or 1 million people, that I was going to create that album. And in Wayne's honor, I did that. I went back in the studio and I created an album. Guess what it was called? The Moment. And I remember getting a call about 6 months after the album was released. And the person on the other line said, "Would you like to open up for Wayne Dyer at the Budweiser Center in Denver, Colorado?" So of course I said no, right? I'm busy, but I ended up opening for Wayne in front of 5,000 people and getting to tell Wayne this story of how he inspired the moment. And that's why I'm going to move to pick up this guitar and share it with you, because it's my wish that you're inspired in some way today by whatever you hear, that you're going to make some type of promise to yourself or claim something in the moment, because really what the song is about is we're waiting for the moment to arrive, but it's always here. It's standing right next to you. And as soon as you say, "I'm going to take a step forward," then you're surrounded by guidance. Whatever your belief system is, whether it's your angels or your ancestors or God or Christ, whatever you think it is, when you step into your own faith and trust, that you're surrounded by support. And what was amazing was that Wayne, after I did my set, he came out on stage and he rubbed the top of my head. He had the same hairdo that I did. We both shaved our head. And my dad had passed about 6 months before that, and in that moment, I could feel the energy of my father with me. So I'll ask you during this song to create an intention for yourself, like where are you right now with your energy? And how can you utilize your energy to create a vibrational upgrade of some kind? That's the idea, is whatever you had to do to get here today and put aside, that you're able to not just learn about whatever we're going to be going over today, but actually feel something. Because we can talk about music for the whole hour, but if we have to have an experience with it to really feel it and to anchor it in. So I'm going to ask you to do this a lot today. So if you're not used to it in Vail, I suggest you get used to it, placing your hands on your heart, if that feels good for you, and just really tapping into your energy. This is your home. You have your own unique vibration in your heart. No matter what's going on in your life, and we'll be talking a lot more about this, this is your way to come back to you over the next 5 minutes. Well, I was just waiting for the moment to arrive. I was searching for a sacred sign, but it was right here all the time. And I am here. I am now. I am who I am. Won't waste another second of my life. Won't spend my life waiting for that moment to arrive. 'Cause it's here, right now, and it's beautiful. And I'm glad to be alive. And not a second, not a breath will I let pass through the sands of time. I won't wait for the moment to arrive. Now all of my life I was searching to be free. What I didn't realize is freedom is in me. And I am love. I am light. I am everything. I'm everything. Won't waste another second of my life. Won't spend my life waiting for that moment to arrive. 'Cause it's here right now, and it's beautiful, and I'm glad to be alive. And not a second, not a breath will I let pass through the sands of time. I won't wait for the moment to arrive. No, 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 na 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 na. Na 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 na. Won't wait for the moment to arrive. Well, I was just waiting for that moment to arrive. I was searching for a sacred sign, but it was right here all the time. And just breathe that into your heart. Give yourself a big breath in. Release a big sigh out. Any stress you're holding in your physical body, give yourself one more big breath in through the heart. One breath out. Awesome. And you might feel some energy moving already. You might feel something open up, like you're more heart connected, or you feel more expansive. So, there we go. It's hard to do a sound thing without any sound, so perfect. So that is all great. I mean, if you're feeling any energy moving, I would say it's energy in motion. It's emotion a lot of time we store in our physical body. So, go with that. Just breathe into it, breathe out if you need to during the evening. I thought I'd just share a little bit of my background as well. I fell in love with music at a very young age. And literally, if I close my eyes, I can still see myself and my mother sitting on a piano bench. Now, my mother was very small, petite lady, 4'5", and at the time I was probably 2 or 3 years old. And I kind of remember both of our feet just barely like hitting the ground as she was playing Yellowbird by Harry Belafonte. She was taking my fingers and playing them at the same time as the notes. And I remember being fascinated how the music, even when she let go of her fingers, was kind of hanging in the air. And something was like a miracle to me, like how can the music still be going after she stopped playing? And literally almost 30 years later, that became kind of my signature style. It was all about the space between the notes. And throughout growing up, I learned to play guitar and grew up in a Jewish household where the mantra that I heard for most of my teen years was, "It's a nice hobby, but what are you gonna do for a living?" So that was the mantra that I heard, but I still chose to beat to a different drummer, so to speak, became a professional record producer. And I'm sure a lot of you can probably relate to this. That was like it, man. If I could do that, then everything's all good. But sometimes we have this vision, and it's not everything that we thought that it was going to be. And for me, it turned out to burn out very quickly, taking 100 hours to produce a 4-minute pop song. Got old very quickly, and I just wanted to reconnect with that kid who was sitting at the edge of his bench in awe of music. So I did a little research, and what I found was that if I wanted to move back to my heart, why not target my heart at a relaxed state? And what I found was our heart beats at a relaxed state between 60 and 70 beats per minute. So I was like, I'm gonna do some experimenting, and I'm just gonna set my metronome for 60 beats per minute, and I'm just gonna allow the music to come through me. Little at the time did I know that what I was doing was I was what's called in training to the music. The internal metronome of my heart was synchronizing to the music, Again, what I didn't know, because we weren't talking about it then, was I was moving to a coherent heart state where my heart was moving in smooth and orderly rhythms. And I was going into deep meditative states in the process of composing and reaching elevated emotions like kindness, compassion, love. I call them divine collaborations because I believe I was tapping into an unlimited field of all potentials that was around me. And later on, I began sharing these with people, and they started using them for like the wildest things. Do you mind if I use this in my dentist's office when I get my root canal? Do you mind if I deliver children into the world with this? Do you mind if I use this for my dad in hospice? People using it for dementia, sleeping challenges, all kinds of things. So what I'm going to do is just share a piece of music that's similar to that. In this moment, I'm just going to let it come through for a couple of minutes. And then I'm going to move into more of the presentation of getting into the science behind really what's happening when we're doing all of this. And when we're talking about biohacking, our brains with music, sound, and vibration, what we learned was that when our heart moves into these states, of course, it affects the brain as well. And the brain starts producing more alpha brain waves, which is the sweet spot for creativity. So allow yourself to just drift with it, allow yourself to receive, and again, go inward. When we close our eyes, is actually when we start to move into alpha. So just going into that inward state allows you to tap into that. And if you'd like to, during this, set an intention for yourself for the rest of the evening. And then I'll bring you back gently and we'll start. Good, and you can just move your toes around a little bit. You can move your fingers, just feeling yourself back in the room. And thank you for co-creating that with me. All of us, are part of that composition, and all of our unique vibrations go into that when we're in a room and we have a common intention together. And I hope you were able to release some stresses you were holding. So the research actually shows that when we do music like this, relaxing music, not only are you releasing stress, but you're able to bring your heart rate down. You're able to also move into a more relaxed state than even where you were when you started. And also, you're able to produce more alpha brain waves. So when we're slowing down and moving to this place, and as you can see that these sometimes small incremental changes that happen over a period of time can create change. And that's really, what biohacking is about, is creating these small changes and being able to move into a place where it's benefiting us sometimes even faster than other things. So that was only 4 minutes. How many of you feel like you were able to move to a more relaxed state than when you walked in? Yeah, so the other person who didn't raise their hand is actually sleeping back there, so we're all good. So it doesn't take long when we give ourselves permission to do that, and that's really the power of utilizing music in this way. So this is nothing new. I just came from a conference of speaking at the same conference with Dave Asprey, who is considered the father of biohacking. And I said, Dave, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but music is the oldest biohack that we have. People have been using this for thousands of years. So all the amazing technologies that you're using, which I think are all awesome, we can't forget the ancient as well that have been using these for thousands of years. And literally, science is catching up to spirituality. It's not the other way around. So we're starting to learn more because we're becoming more interested. And we're living in a great time now where this is becoming more interesting. So we're seeing more of this. But music engages the brain. And this is what's happening when we're connecting with music through emotion, through memory, through learning and neuroplasticity, and also through attention. And we see this at a young age, don't we? When we see an infant dancing in the crib and smiling, already connecting to music there's no direction or even teaching. It's just a natural state. Lullabies, when a mother sings to her child, what's going on is oxytocin, which is called the cuddle hormone, is being increased in the body. Relaxation as well, through music like this as well, we can decrease our cortisol levels, which are one of our stress hormones. And as well, when we're listening to happy music, we can create more dopamine. So if I ask you to close your eyes for a second and think of one song that makes you happy, like right now, could you do that? Does anybody have like one song that they love that makes them happy? Yes. Bob Marley, Everything's Gonna Be All Right. There you go. And what's amazing about that is one song can literally, even thinking about it, can change your brain chemistry. So you can listen to it and have a powerful reaction to it, but even just thinking about it starts to set off those neurotransmitters that are part of the rewards, dopamine. So that is a great thing to do for people who always say, well, I don't have enough time to create a music program. Let's start with one song. One song that makes you happy. I invite you to play it every day for the next 30 days and see if you don't have some type of transformation in your life. And these are really exciting studies for me, how music's being used in autism. So people on the autistic spectrum can have a hard time with defining specific emotions. And in this specific study, they use music compositions that were identified as happy or sad. And the person was able to point out on the pointer, just from listening to the music, what those emotions were. So where normal language wasn't able to communicate that, music was. In memory as well, music is being used to tap into autobiographical memories. So this is really exciting because what happens when we listen to a piece of music? Have you ever listened to a piece of music and all of a sudden you were there? You were at your prom. You were at your first dance at your wedding, dancing with your dad. Or you were there in a happy moment in your life. You weren't just thinking about it, you were literally there. So music opens up neuroplasticity as well and creates new pathways for memories to be activated through music. And this becomes really important when we start to look at dementia and Alzheimer's. And I'm going to share this video for you of how music, how powerful it can be just tapping into music with Alzheimer's patients.
Hi, Papa. Hi, Papa.
Son,
How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm fine. Wait.
Who am I?
I don't know. Wait a minute. I don't know.
Okay, it's Cherry.
How long has he been in the nursing home? Approximately 10 years.
10 years.
He was having seizures, and my mother couldn't handle him at home. Of course, it affected me greatly because he was always, fun-loving, singing, every occasion he would come out with a song, no matter where he was. I remember as a child, he used to walk us down the street, me and my brother, and he would stop and do singing in the rain. He would have us jumping and swinging around poles. He was, he was good. He was always into music, always loved singing, dancing.
His name is Henry Dyer.
Uh-huh.
And I'm looking more or less for religious music for him.
Okay.
Because he enjoys music and he always quoting the Bible. So I'd rather have that for him.
We first see Henry inert, maybe depressed, unresponsive, and almost unalive.
Henry.
Yeah?
Henry.
Yes,
I found your music. You want your music now?
What do you want
Okay,
me?
Let's try your music, okay? And then you tell me if it's too loud or not.
Then he is given an iPod containing, we know, his favorite music. And immediately he lights up. His face assumes expression. His eyes open wide. He starts to sing and to rock and to move his arms, and he's being animated by the music.
What does music do to you?
Give me the feeling of love. No man. Figure right now the world need to come into music singing. You got beautiful music in. Beautiful, oh, lovely. And I feel the band of love, dream.
It's beautiful new technology. You can have all the music which is significant for you in something as big as a matchbox or whatever. And I think this may be very, very important in helping to animate, organize, and bring a sense of identity back to people who are out of it. Otherwise, music will bring them back into it, into their own personhood, their own memories, their own autobiographies.
So that is from a movie called Alive Inside. I invite you to check out the whole movie. It's really amazing. But I always ask a question. I asked this in front of a room full of 200 doctors, that if I would have shown you, Henry, at the beginning of this and at the end and said, wow, what do you think created this amazing healing, right? Where he was basically a new person for the most part. I don't think anyone would have said music. Would you agree with that? But music is really what did that, and it created a neuroplasticity within that, new pathways, of reorganizing neurons where traditional language didn't work. Music was able to access those specific memories. And these are some of the ways that music is being used as well in language. So Congressman Gabby Gifford actually had a traumatic brain injury from being shot, and she lost use of language. But they were able to retrain her language by something that's called melodic intonation. Now, melodic intonation is when you're using songs that are very familiar to you to relearn language. So, for example, happy birthday to you could be, can you pass me the salt, right? And that way they reteach language. And really, she was fully able to speak by the time her treatments were done. As well as music engages us through attention. And I do this a lot within music. A lot of times it's the highs and lows within music that grasp our attention. So if I were to just play a piece of music that was really even, you might, move into a very relaxed state, very similar to that. I wasn't trying to increase your attention there. I was really trying to move you into a relaxed state. But if I wanted to keep your attention, I would raise the dynamics and then bring them up, bring them down. And that's what they found was the most effective in working with attention, was these silent moments are where people really paid attention more to music. So this is ancient technology. And if you look at this symbol, this is the symbol for medicine in Chinese medicine. And within the symbol of Chinese medicine is the symbol of music. So within that medicine, harmony of the body is very important. So when we're talking about healing, and music, and this was something that I wrestled with at the beginning when I feel like I came out and said, I'm a sound healer, right? That I remember that guys I grew up with in the Bronx said, this is how they talk. Yo, dude, man, what are you talking about? You're a sound healer. Like, what are you selling? Snake oil or what, man? What do you mean you're healing with sound? And I'm like, well, what if sound wasn't, and working with sound wasn't just the physical body? And what I realized was that was very symbolic of what goes on in our culture. We just think of healing occurring in the physical body, but when we look at the whole system, and that's what Chinese medicine does, physical, mental, emotional, right, and the spiritual body, those four pieces equal health. And I remember saying to him, well, haven't you ever heard a song and released grief or been so happy that you felt lighter? Wouldn't you consider that a healing? And when I was able to talk to him in that way, he was able to say, yes, that I have. The same guy who teased me 30 years ago was utilizing my music when he started chemo treatments, 30 years later. So this is where we are now in terms of combining ancient and modern. And there's a lot of research on drumming. So in drumming circles, and the drum, of course, is one of the oldest instruments that was used in music. Initially, it was a communication between villages, right? When they were going to war, or someone was going through a rite of passage where a baby was being born. That's how the drums were used. So the drum connects us with the drum in our physical body. And of course, when you look at that, what can happen in a drumming circle, it wouldn't be surprising to see decreases in depression. Also, in studies that were done by a company called Remo, by a gentleman named Dr. Barry Bittman, they showed that in 10 weeks, they were able to go from a pro-inflammatory profile to an anti-inflammatory profile and increase the immune system just through drumming. And also in anxiety and well-being were able to be shifted throughout that. And this was all through gentle drumming. So also increasing the quality of life in Parkinson's disease patients. So with Parkinson's disease, it affects the basal ganglia, which is part of our motor center. So giving a strong rhythm, and this was also shown in study, can improve the gait, which is the walk. When someone's doing the shuffle in Parkinson's, they can improve that just through providing a strong, steady rhythm. And that's what they were able to show as well. And within a 40-minute session, that PTSD in a Vietnam vet were able to be reduced, and this alpha brainwaves were also increased. And that's in one session of drumming. Also, of course, the community aspect, when we drum together, they have actually measured the heart rate of people drumming together and show that they can move into synchrony. So again, we're so caught up in the individual, but when we come together and music creates this, I think it's one of the original blueprints of music is community, right? And that connection with the divine as well. We're in a church here. This is where really music as healing really started, in that way where we were connecting to something beyond ourselves and amplifying that connection through music when we sing it, and we're owning it, we're connected to it. So with that, I'm going to just take you through a very short process with a drum. So connecting the drum in our physical body at that low, easy tempo that he was talking about, so we can actually move into heart and brain coherence together. So again, no one's staring at you except for me. Just close your eyes. And I'm just going to take you through a brief process. And that low drum, just allow yourself to feel the frequency of that. And that low frequency just grounds you in to the earth. So feel your feet connected on the ground. Feel that connection to Mother Earth, where you feel nurtured, you feel supported. Now focus your awareness on the shaker. Feel that energy above you, connecting you to the fatherly heavens. And just visualize that energy coming in through the top of your head and bring it all the way into your heart. Good, and now just focus your attention on your heart. Feeling it connecting to the drum in your physical body. And we're able to ground and connect to spirit at the same time. It's the energy of a tree, as above, so below. So you're connected to the earth, and at the same time, you're connected to the heavens. It's not either or. We seem to think that we have to sacrifice one for the other, but we can maintain that. And working with the drum really taps you into that awareness. So there are modern ways as well to work with biohacking the brain. And one of them is working through brain entrainment. So when we define and when we're working with brain entrainment, we're talking about frequencies. So the cycle of a wave and how fast that moves is defined by frequency. And entrainment can assist in targeting specific states. So if you are in high beta and you want to go to alpha, you can do that with brain entrainment. Or if you're in alpha and you want to wind down for sleep, you can target that as well. And these are the basic brainwave states. Beta is the fastest moving one. It's 14 hertz to 40 hertz. This is our awake firing and wiring stage. When we're concentrating, our alpha brainwave states are more calm and relaxed, and that's between 8 and 14. Theta brainwaves are between 4 and 8 hertz. That's where we're moving to deep relaxation and daydreaming. And then delta is where we are in sleep and experiencing REM sleep at 0 to 4 hertz per minute. So Hans Berger is the one who talked about alpha brainwaves, and he discovered that when you close your eyes, you shift into alpha automatically just by closing your eyes. The brain technologies that I like to talk about, one is called binaural beats. So binaural beats is when you're introducing two different frequencies on one side of your ear and one on the other. So for instance, if we were targeting alpha brainwave state at 8 hertz, I might have 100 hertz in this ear, 108 in this, and the brain entrains to the difference, so we can actually target that brainwave state. So I work with a company called Monroe Institute. Many of you might have heard of that. Robert Monroe was one of the first ones who incorporated this with music as well. Monaural beats is when you're doing the same thing, you're using those two frequencies, but it doesn't have to be used in the left and right side of your head. It could be done in what's called monophonic, so in the middle. And then isochronic tones are more pulses that work within training your brain. Neurofeedback is when you actually train your brain so that when you're hearing a specific frequency, your brain moves into alpha, you begin to learn this. And so I've done tones for 40 Years of Zen with Dave Asprey, where when you move into that alpha state, you're hearing a specific tone. And you start to fire and wire that tone, and you're really starting to create your own music that you begin to identify, oh, that's what alpha sounds like. And you're able to control your brainwaves through neurofeedback. So a lot of research with this. It's effective, again, in treating sleep disorders, in working with ADHD, with vets, moving into sustained meditative states, also improving performance and mood, as well as treating pain. So lots of different ways that HemiSync has been researched. I suggest go to their site and check it out because they have an amazing catalog of music. This is a brand new piece that I've done with HemiSync, and it's actually the music to start and end your day with music. And it really helps to start your day in these states and end your day. These are the bookends, starting and ending your day. So heart and brain coherence has been utilized in many of the ancient traditions. In Chinese medicine, the heart was called the emperor that guided the mental and the cognitive states. So we learned thousands of years ago that the heart and brain are connected together. But now, again, we're just starting to catch on. We think we've created a new whole lane of this called neurocardiology. But this was something was used in Egypt. It was used as well in yoga practices. It was used in Chinese medicine. And when the heart is guiding the way to the brain, and sometimes the other way around. So the Institute of Heart Math is studying this. And if you're not familiar with them, they're an amazing, amazing company. And what they've shown is that when we're in these higher emotions like kindness, compassion, appreciation, that we are creating these smooth, orderly rhythms. And you see there's beats per minute. So it's exactly what we were talking about with the music at specific beats per minute. So again, your body is an orchestra, and what's going on in your body is a symphony, and all we have to really do is activate it. When we're in frustration, you see there's a lot of dissonance there. Those are incoherent spectras that you're looking at. And This is how it's defined by these smooth, orderly rhythms. That is what defines heart coherence. And so if you imagine that your body is this orchestra, and if you think, wow, that each of the systems in your body was like a part of the orchestra, and they all decided, the violin part, the cellos, the winds, the percussion, they all decided that they were going to play music at whatever tempo they wanted to play at. What do you think that would sound like? Right? Like pretty dissonant or incoherent. And really, the heart is the conductor of what's going on in our body. So the heart sets that tempo, and we can send out the signals to the rest of our systems. And it's much easier to move into a healing state, like the parasympathetic state, when we're resting, digesting, we're detoxing, our immune system's being boosted, and a host of benefits that are going on. And in order to get there, we have to create this kind of signal and this conversation with the heart where it's these elevated emotions, and at the same time, we're moving into smooth, orderly rhythms. So what do you think is really going to get us there better than anything else is music, right? Because it has a set tempo that we can entrain to. And what takes us to those elevated emotions of kindness, compassion? Could you feel that? Like when I was playing, I was sending that out to you, and I can feel you sending that energy into the room. So those elevated emotions through music can happen very quickly, and we can move into these coherent states. And when that is happening, we are just like that metronome. And studies show that even people just listening to a metronome at 66 beats per minute were able to reduce anxiety, while another group listened in silence, and they received no benefit at all. So when we combine this, right, this methodology of entrainment with music that's designed for heart coherence. So that's really where it moves out of art and entertainment, and we begin to go next level, that we can design music to achieve these states, to move us into heart and brain coherence. And so that's what we are going to do, is move into a practice I call the heart song breathing process. And we're going to go through this process with music I created called the heart codes. Now, the heart codes is a piece that I designed specifically for heart coherence. It's using triple number frequencies, which would be another whole workshop with you talking about, but it's really set to unveil this conversation with the heart. The first breath will be connecting through the bottom of your feet. So you'll bring that up through the bottom of your feet. And when you do, you're connecting to Mother Earth. You feel supported, you feel nurtured, you feel grounded on your path. You'll bring that all the way up to your heart, then you'll release it. The second breath is going to be geared towards the Father energy. So that is going to connect you to surrendering to this unlimited field of all potential, releasing control, connecting with the heavens. You'll bring that breath in through the top of your head, in through your heart, and then you'll release it. The third breath is just connecting with your own heart code. You're opening those channels of energy below and above so that you can connect more fully in your heart. You can maybe even ask a question to your heart. What does it want you to know tonight? And I'll take you through a little bit of this process, and then you'll do a couple of breaths on your own with that. So again, I invite you, place your hands on your heart, close your eyes. And just allow yourself to adjust to the rhythm of the music. Focusing your awareness on the bottom of your feet now. Move that breath in all the way to the bottom of your feet, up to your heart. And release that breath with a big sigh out. Good. And then bringing your awareness to the top of your head. This is where we're connecting with the energy of the heavens, and feel that expansiveness above you, connecting to this unlimited field. Bring this breath in through the top of your head, all the way to your heart, and then release it. Good, and then bring a breath in through your heart, integrating that energy, feeling your own heartbeat, and releasing your breath out. Get one more breath, bringing it in through the bottom of your feet, all the way up to the heart. And releasing it. And a breath in through the heart. Excuse me. Breath from the top of your head into the heart. And then release it. And then a breath in your center, in your heart. Bring it all the way into your heart and release it. Now do that on your own, starting with the breath from the ground below you, and then continuing the process. Let's do one more together. Bring that breath in through the bottom of your feet, all the way up to your heart, and release it. Breath in through the top of the head, into the heart, and release it. And with your hands on your heart, just feel your own heartbeat, your own breath. Is it possible to bring in gratitude in this moment for your heartbeat, your breath? No matter what's going on in your life, you are alive and well. And your life force, your heart, is your way back home. And if we were to measure this right now, we would probably find that we're producing more alpha brain waves, that our heart is in a beautiful coherent state as well as our brain. And what they're showing in studies now, that these are connected. In a 12-week study, they first showed the heart during meditation was able to move into this coherent state. Then the brain was also able to move into that state. And when they measured both, they discovered that yes, they did affect each other. And we're seeing more and more that is now geared around heart-brain coherence. And this leads into, okay, well, how can you incorporate this into your life? How can you take this out of art and entertainment and move it into a way where you're navigating your energy so that you have more energy for whatever it is that you're here to do, to magnify your mission with music, whether it's raising your children or being fully present with your grandchildren or writing your next book? How can you target specific states? So I call this musical nutrition. And just as we nourish ourselves 3 times a day, you can nourish yourself with music. That's a great way to start a program, is to basically think about that when you're eating breakfast, you're breaking the fast of deciding what you're going to put into your body. You're also not hearing anything for 8 hours. What is the first piece of music that you want to listen to in your day that's going to create gratitude for you? And sometimes mine's very up-tempo. I have a playlist that consists of Sly and the Family Stone, Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself. Dido, Thank You. Louis Armstrong, What a Wonderful World. Whatever it is that takes you to gratitude, start your day with it. In the middle of your day, get up if you can and move a little bit. Studies show that this is a great biohack for moving into cognition. And if you don't want to get up and exercise, do what I do. Take a 5-minute vacation where you listen to a piece of music from another part of the world. And that will really allow you to shift your environment. Close your eyes. What does it feel like to be there? What are the smells of nature in that area? What do the foods taste like? And all of a sudden, you're transported. Then music for sleep. I'm just going to really move through this because we know now that music can create relaxation. Instead of counting sheep, count musical notes, right? And move into that synchronized state that we're talking to, utilizing music. Use it to mask background noise. My friend's mom used to live in Harlem, and she used this, and she had dementia. She used it, and initially he thought she would never listen to it, and she started saying, "Phil, can you play me my music? It's loud." So very easy to create that Pavlovian effect where you're listening to music every night. And I have a protocol. Wind down about 60 beats per minute is what you want to listen to. Music with no lyrics, and music with long tones, similar to what I was playing is what has been studied, those low frequency with not a lot of melody because it will put you into your analytical mind. And shut the phones off, shut the TV off. Sleep in ancient traditions were the time to connect in a sacred way, to let your body rest, to let your spirit go out into the ethers, to connect with ancestors, and to not start your day in the same cycle as you did the night before. Fall back in love with music. Like I started this out saying, I fell in love with music. And this is what happens. We get better sleep. It's affecting all of these things, from memory to mood enhancement to detoxing specific hormones that work, moving past those and releasing those that affect moving into, things like Alzheimer's and chronic conditions. Sleep is such a big biohack and such an easy way to use music to whatever you're doing in conjunction with it. So implementing music, start programming it into your day. Look at your meetings and say, here's a piece of music I'm going to use here. And combine to do and to be. So you can do your things to do, but give yourself time to improvise in your day as well. And the studies have shown that literally that improvising, and this was a study that showed rap, when they did the study, the rapper who memorized their lyrics did not have the same benefit of the person that was improvising. And these studies also were done with jazz. So how many of you in here actually like rap music? Okay, a couple of you. For those of you who don't, I'm going to make a bet that after I show you this next video, you're going to like rap music because it shows how improvising and rap music can work together. And think about how this would ripple out in our educational programs.
Yeah. Trust me, smooth flow, yo, I'm so rare. Are you with me?
Oh yeah.
Who got the funk? We ain't going.
Nowhere.
Are you with me?
Oh yeah.
Who got the funk? We ain't going.
Nowhere.
Yeah. One. Yo, 3.
4.
Yeah, 5.
6.
Yeah, 7. 9.
10. Daddy. Yeah, daddy and mommy.
Daddy and mommy.
And Kien.
And Kien.
Kien rapping.
Kien's rapping.
Kien rapping.
Khalil's rapping.
Kien rapping.
Kalilo rapping. Is that your name? Kalilo?
Kalilo rapping.
Yeah.
Kalilo rapping.
Now imagine bringing that joy into your life and when challenges come at you and you could pivot and improvise. And that's really what it's about, not just improvising in music, but being able to improvise in your life as well. And, with this, music is basically the soundtrack of our life. When we start implementing it into a program, it's not a have to, that you have to do something. This is something that you get to do. It's a privilege. And I'm going to share a personal story with you, and then we're going to move into chanting together to end this and really bring the energy in the room up. But when my dad was passing, I was literally bedside with him. And I'm sure many of you can relate to this when there's someone in your life who is going through that passing, that all you want to do is be able to help in some way. And you feel so helpless in that moment. And I can close my eyes and still see my dad. When I walked in that room, he was in a state of fear and his eyes were moving around in his head. And he didn't really know that I was there. And I thought, wow, if I could just help him and make it a little bit easier for him. And I heard like my inner voice, if you want to call it that, saying, chant to him. Chant to him. And my dad was raised in Brooklyn and played pool in the pool halls and listened to Frank Sinatra. So I'm thinking to myself, chanting's not going to be like his go-to playlist. But music's a messenger, and I knew I was there to deliver a message. So I went to the top of his bed and I placed my hand on his forehead. And I heard myself chanting Om. Now, Om is said to contain every sound in the universe and also past, present, and future in it. That connects us to something beyond ourselves. And as I put my hand on his head, I could feel like an energy, like a warmth on the top of his head. And when I stopped chanting, I opened my eyes, and my dad was staring right at me. And I went to the other side of the bed, and I held his hand. And he couldn't talk, but I asked him a question. I said, squeeze my hand if you understand me. And we had the most important conversation that we could ever have, probably the most important conversation in my life. And when I later went to write my book, I remember Denise, my wife, who's an amazing naturopathic medical doctor. She was helping me with the research of the book. She said, what do you want to put in your book? I said, I want to see if there's any studies on Om, with Om. And I was so excited to find that there was a study that was called The Medical Benefits of Chanting Om. The neurohemodynamic correlation of Om chanting indicated limbic deactivation. So to translate that, you guys are a very, very smart audience. You probably know what that means. But she had to translate it to me anyway. And what she said was, well, it's pretty much what happened when you chanted to your dad. It created inner peace. That area of the brain that's associated, the limbic area is associated when it's deactivated to inner peace. So I created a chant when I began to lecture to doctors. I created a chant that incorporates seed syllables of Om, called Om, Shalom Home. And when we sing this song, we're going to sing it together in a moment. We are going to bring the Om, very similar, through the bottom of the ground up to our heart. Actually, would you like to join me for a minute? Oh, my wife. You could too, but she already knows the movement. So it's going to be Om, right? Bringing that, scooping that up into your heart. Shalom, which connects us to the heavens, and also is inner peace. And then home is in our hearts. So together, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be coming into heart and brain coherence during this chant, because it's at a tempo that's working with your heart at a relaxed state, and at the same time, you're synchronizing to those seed syllables of Om and connecting to create limbic deactivation, which is that sense of inner peace. So with that being said, I'm going to grab my guitar, and if you can, and for those of you who would like to, I invite you to stand up and do this. And It's very simple. You'll get it right away. It's just Om Shalom Home. And here we go. This is actually what happened in the brain and will happen in the brain as we chant Om. These are the areas of the brain that are lit up.
Om Shalom.
Okay, so that first one coming up is Om. Bring it through the bottom of your feet.
Om Shalom.
Let's bring the music up a little bit. And beautiful, with your hands on your heart, we're just going to take this energy that we created in this room and these seed syllables that weave through many cultures, create the potential for healing and peace to occur, coming together in one language, together, sending that out to create the potential of peace in our planet. So let's bring that breath into our heart and send that intention out with a powerful sigh together. And so it is. So we come together in this beautiful energy. And this didn't happen through pharmaceuticals, didn't happen through nutraceuticals. This is what I call acousticeuticals. So the moment is here. We're living in an exciting time where any of you are sound healers or music or just falling back in love with music again, I just invite you to become the DJ of your own life and to utilize music, to navigate your energy, to magnify your mission, and to biohack your brain with music. So, thank you.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I am curious if in your research and experience, you have also shared this with deaf and hard of hearing community and used the vibration piece, and if maybe perhaps you're getting similar or same result from our deaf and hard of hearing family.
Thank you. That's a great question. And yeah, I actually work within Dr. Joe's community as well, and we do have a hearing impaired community. So it does require at some points to actually lower the music or not utilize the music, but the intention is in there, it's in the music, because music's a carrier of that information. So I'll just give you a perfect example. When I was composing the heart codes, I was in my room and Denise knocked on the door and asked me to lower the music because she was trying to concentrate and the music was putting her into a slower brainwave state. So I did that. I put it on in headphones. And 15 minutes later, she knocked on my door and she said, "It's not helping. It doesn't matter. Because whatever you're doing is coming into the other room." Because I was in that state, that intention, that emotion was being embedded in the music. So I think that really is pertinent when you're talking about people with, who can't hear, but they can feel. So this is how I usually end, is I usually say music's not something that's happening to you, it's something that's happening in you. So that resonance can still happen, even if they're not listening to the music. If they can feel the vibration, sometimes the lower frequencies are actually able to feel more in the body, then I would suggest using the lower frequencies as well, if you want them to feel it more. And yeah, just explain what you're hearing or feeling in the music, the intention that's in the music, and see if they can see what their experience is. So ultimately, you're getting feedback. It's the same thing with, autism or people on different spectrums. You have to test it. It's individualized medicine. Think of that we don't start with the highest prescription or dosage, right? We start with the lowest. What's the lowest dosage that can be beneficial when you're working with people who have some type of impairment, and see how it feels for them.
Thank you for tonight. And I was wondering if changing the frequency of music to 440, does that affect any of the things you've talked about tonight?
Yeah, well, this is like the biggest question that I get from everyone is like, do you compose your music in 440, 444, 432? It's a great question because it brings awareness to frequency, right? And frequency, of course, is going to have different effects on different people. But I think it's also time that we can move to, in the scientific community, there's thousands of different tunings. And literally, I could compose music to the frequency of diseased liver, right? Or there's something that's not in 440, 432, or anything that you've heard of. But we can adapt it through what's called a sense-to-notes conversion. And that's really where I'm going with all of this, because I don't believe there's one frequency for everyone. I don't think that we should get into prescribing panacea as well. 432 is going to work for everybody, or 528 is the frequency of love, because there's thousands of different compositions within those tunings. That some of them you're going to resonate with, some of them you're not going to resonate with. Some of them don't have great intentions behind them, others do. Your frequency changes every day. Right? As you do work and you're releasing from your body, your vessel gets lighter, right? So different frequencies are going to resonate with it. So I invite you the bigger question for me is what resonates with me? And I'll leave you with a criteria. So if someone says, you have to listen to this piece of music, it's at 432, or you have to listen to this because it's at A444. Close your eyes and ask yourself, when I hear this piece of music, does it make me feel contracted, like I'm kind of covering up like it's a cold day? Or does it make me feel expansive, like I'm standing on top of the mountain in a beautiful night sky? Right? And that's how you know whether it's good for you, whether it's going to create musical nourishment for you. And that's really the more important thing. For me, that's my point of view.
Hi, thank you for this evening. It was really great.
You're welcome.
I'm wondering if, this kind of comes from personal experience, but I learned about Ayurveda, and I was eating spicy food in the morning for breakfast, and I learned through Ayurveda that if you have anger issues, which I unfortunately do, that you should eat sweet things. And it actually changed my mood in the morning. And prior to that in my life, I actually noticed that certain music kind of set off like Pavlovian responses in me. Have you ever come across sound healers suggesting that people analyze their musical catalog?
Oh, yeah.
To see if perhaps it's doing them more harm? Because what you just said to her was like, see what resonates with you. But sometimes the music that's resonating with you is not helping you.
Yeah.
I guess that's my question.
That's a great question. Yeah, and I think that's exactly what it is. Like if we looked at this like it was medicine, right? And I have all this medicine available to me, like in my library of songs that I've had throughout the years, and just going through them and starting to create playlists for different emotions. So maybe you have a playlist for anger, right? Maybe it's good to just move that anger with one song. And that might be like, I hate to use like the theme song for Rocky, right? To help you move that energy. Do you have to listen to 5 songs with it? No. But again, think of it as like a prescription for the day or for whatever you need. So I always ask myself 3 questions. Where am I now? Like, what's my mood? Where do I want to go? And what piece of music will take me there? And my book talks about this. If you start like with 7 categories, like one's gratitude, one is relaxation, but you can create your own as well with 3 songs, and when you stop feeling that expansive state, shift things up. And it's really geared towards having that conversation, with your heart. As you move into these coherent states, right? One of the benefits is you're becoming more intuitive within that. So you can then move into an inner conversation and ask yourself, is listening to this once going to be enough for me? Like you said, sometimes your songs that resonate with you might not be great for you. Has it done its purpose? And open up to feeling that in your body, whether it's going to work with you or not. The great thing is you have thousands of choices, so don't get caught up with one song. Just keep moving the energy until you find, sets that work for you.
Barry, have you done any work with Jack Stuckey, measuring the brainwave states with your music and seeing how that affects your awareness while you're in the deep states? Yeah. So, when I first started working with Dr. Joe Dispenza, we were on the road together. I was literally doing that music live with 2,000 people, and they were actually brain mapping people at the same time. So, in the foreword of my book, he talks about how people were moving to these eloquent states of alpha, and he asked, do you know how I know that? Because we measured it. And they were finding people were getting into these alpha brainwave states, and between a minute to 2 minutes, their brainwaves were shifting significantly within it. So, and as well as working with Dave Asprey, they're doing a lot of work with neurofeedback and tones that they measured with designing specific music as opposed to just those tones that were bleeps and blops, but using it with music actually enhanced people's getting into those alpha brainwave states 10 times as fast as what they've said. So, and we're always looking to create, more studies. We're talking about doing a study with USSD where we're going to look at music in the mitochondria as well and how it affects it. But if any of you, have the ability to create studies, I'm always open to diving into other things and looking at this.
We've got time for 1 or 2 more. A wonderful presentation. Thank you. Have you worked with professional musicians? What if you are a professional musician and you don't listen to songs, for instance, you just listen to classical?
Yeah.
Let's say. How do you incorporate all that? Like, I am a professional musician and I cannot go to sleep with music.
Right.
Because all I hear are the notes all the time, you know. And I have friends that have done some of these studies with classical music, you know, in autistic children, and I've done some of that. But have you personally have done any kind of research with musicians?
I haven't done it with musicians myself, but there definitely are studies. I mean, if you go to PubMed, a lot of the studies they're doing are based on musicians, like learning an instrument, how that can increase neuroplasticity. You know, musicians as compared to people who are not musicians, when they're listening to music. So I suggest, if you want to learn more from the research point of view, definitely go to PubMed. There's a vast amount of research there. But what I was going to say from the classical end is, where do you think they got like 60 beats per minute from? Like most of the classical music, before they were even measuring it in beats per minute, was at 60 beats per minute. So you guys do it naturally in terms of moving into that state. And, you know, I think as a musician, it's always hard listening to your own music or music you're familiar with. But I might suggest listening to more ambient music, because like my music doesn't always land where you expect it to. So, you know, and it's kind of easier to listen to it because it's less melodic. So see if that worked for you. Yeah. We're going to do last line.
And a question, one more from our online audience over here. Are there cultural differences in response to music? For example, do people raised with the pentatonic scale react differently to the music you use tonight?
So give me the second part of that.
Do people raised with the pentatonic scale react differently to the music you used tonight?
Yeah, I mean, again, one of the most important studies there shows that music works with autobiographical memories. You know, so if you're raised listening to a certain type of music, you know, that listening to music that's in like just thirds and fifths might be strange to you. But if you're, you know, for example, if you were raised in Indian culture and there's all these micro tunings to music, you might think our music is very simplistic. So absolutely, I mean, it's going to affect someone based on their personal preferences and what they're used to listening to. They're going to have different experiences with it. Now, whether that's a negative or a positive, you know, that's always going to be, music is still individual. And more studies are showing that our preferred music that we love and enjoy, are going to be the music that affects us as most. So that's where I think there's a combination. There's certain things that we know that work with the physical body, but also the same reason why I encourage you to tap back into your own music that you love. When we were in COVID, I like re-downloaded like every greatest hits album from the 70s that you could think of. Like James Taylor's greatest hits, Crosby, Stills and Nash greatest hits, Stevie Wonder's greatest hits, because it was the music I loved. And it made me happy, you know, to listen to it again. So I think the big message is, fall back in love with music. You know, whatever your music is, I'm not prescribing my music or anybody else's music. You know, find your own music.
Ladies and gentlemen, Barry Goldstein.
Thank you. Thanks.